The Bluegrass State is a nickname given to the Commonwealth of Kentucky based on a species of grass found in many regions throughout the state. This Kentucky bluegrass has supported the state's thriving thoroughbred horse industry for decades. The 15th state in the Union possesses a diverse economy that combines excellent farming conditions, auto manufacturing, coal production, and a massive collegiate sports market with a rich history of bourbon, moonshine, tobacco, horse racing, and most importantly, folk tales of a large humanoid-like creature living in the hills of Appalachian Kentucky. Some refer to this creature as a cryptid, also known as Bigfoot.
My name's Elijah Henderson.
And I'm Gabrielle Henderson.
My family would have a Bigfoot follow them home at night. You know, they lived in the deep mountains and whatnot. It'd follow them home and follow them, up to the house, and they'd have to push the stove up in front of the door because, there wasn't proper door locks or anything just to keep it out. It would jiggle the doorknob and whatnot. They had all kinds of issues up there. It even resulted in the family losing hogs, and they had a few of the family members sitting out, watching out to see who was stealing their hogs. And they said it looked like a big gorilla loped out of the woods, grabbed the hogs by the hind legs and the front legs, swung it across its back, and it just stepped over the fence and back into the woods. And the fella that seen it had a reputation for being particularly mean and nasty. He said, I wouldn't shoot it for anything. It just made it mad.
During the 2018 expedition, we found some tracks. We saw a figure on a thermal imager that my best description of it would be it looked like Donkey Kong. It had a kind of a pointed head, large, like upside down triangle, large body, tapered down. And when I first spotted it through the thermal scope, it was doing this. It was raising its hands up and down. We were the only ones there. It was nobody in my party. We're miles and miles away from civilization. The only way to get there is by boat. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a moose. I've lived in Alaska for about 20 years. I'm fairly, familiar with the wildlife. And to me, that really cemented it for me. I'm like, there's something here, that we don't understand.
Me and my mom went up to the Hayden Adventure in Upper Michigan.
I followed him through every adventure that he's started, so there's always something going on.
And we met Craig Salk, who told us about the Bigfoot activity up on his property, and we started going around and looking at other activity down in southern Wisconsin, and that kind of led to the formation of CAPS. Before that, I used to do some paranormal investigating as well, but the team didn't actually start until 2019 when we all got together.
My name is Scott James. I had an experience with a gray Sasquatch. I build musical instruments in my shop, and the Sasquatch is a little bit interested in the sound of them. He'll be peeping through the window or he's in the bushes. Really, he enjoys the sound of the instrument.
The Bell Witch or Bell Witch Haunting is a popular 19th century folktale originating in an area once known as the Red River, but is now known as present-day Adams, Tennessee. According to the legend, between 1816 and 1820, farmer John Bell Sr. and his family came under attack by a shape-shifting and sometimes hostile paranormal and goblin-like entity that was able to speak and affect the physical environment. The poltergeist claimed at one point to be the old Kate Batts Witch and continued to respond favorably to the name. The physical activity centered on the Bell's youngest daughter, Betsy, and the family's patriarch, John Bell Sr. In 1817, John Bell Sr. contracted a mysterious affliction that worsened over the next 3 years, ultimately leading to his death. According to the story, the Bell Witch took pleasure in tormenting him during his affliction, finally poisoning him one December morning as he lay unconscious after suffering a number of violent seizures. The Bell Witch is said to have disrupted John Bell Sr.'s funeral service, but then disappeared immediately thereafter. The witch became known far and wide, and even President Andrew Jackson visited the Bell household in 1819 to experience the witch firsthand. The Bell Witch Cave is a karst cave also located in Adams, Tennessee, near where the Bell farm once stood. Many believe that when the witch departed the family, she fled to the sanctuary of this cave. Although the cave is now privately owned, tours are available during the summer and in October.
About 8 or 10 years ago, we went for a cave tour. When we got done with the cave tour, we got back to the house, and some strange things started to happen to the audio on our TV that was attached to the. Well, that could be explained by anything, but we just joked around and said that's just the Bell Witch. She came back to follow us a little bit. And then a couple days later, I had a situation in my own house where I keep a, I guess you'd call it a key box or a little memento box. It has a lid on it. It has a little tray in the front, and that tray has a raised lip. And it's big enough to hold a small, a good-sized softball, so to speak. I use a ball that I use for juggling, and I would put it in, just leave it on that tray. Now, this one particular afternoon, it was sitting on the tray. Right above it is a small little shelf, and there's several books, and one was the Bell Witch book that I got from the Bell Witch farm. I purchased there when we went for one of the tours. I left the room, the ball sitting there in that little tray, and all of a sudden I heard this big thud. I said, what in the world is that? And I ran running back into the room, come around the corner, and I see that ball had fallen onto the floor. So a heavy juggling ball fell off of a tray that had a raised lip of about 1/2 inch with nothing in the room. There's no wind that's going to blow a ball off of something like that. And only one thing else had moved in the room, and that was the Bell Witch book. The Bell Witch book had fallen forward and fallen down onto the table itself where the ball had fallen onto the floor.
In our research with the Bell Witch video, you know, something sat down in the bed with my mother, something sat down in the bed with my dad. We have all kinds of lights turned on by themselves, you know. Heard what sounded like coughing and gurgling from the back of our house when nobody was back there, you know. Just kind of small things like that, nothing big.
The witch supposedly killed John Bell by poisoning him. So that's one of the few cases where a paranormal instance maybe dealt with that. But then at John Bell's funeral, everybody that was in attendance of the funeral could hear somebody singing about how they killed John Bell. And that was probably the weirdest thing, that to be at a funeral and hear a supposed bodiless voice just coming through the trees singing about how they killed the guy that's being buried is probably the weirdest.
Probably the scariest thing just about was when we were down at Land Between the Lakes, and we were in an area called, we nicknamed it the Dark Hollow. We're down there and there's a lot of cottonmouth snakes in the region, and my mom doesn't mind Bigfoot, dogmen, anything like that, but she hates snakes.
She did not like snakes at all, so it was decided that we were going to pack up and leave, but of course, he doesn't want to leave. He wants to stay out there and hunt monsters, so we were like, okay, we'll pack it up. We won't sleep here, but we will sit out and listen for a little bit, so even compromise. So we were listening there, and he blows on a dog whistle, and then I guess it wasn't tuned right or something, so he adjusted, and then he blows it again, and just a few seconds later, this thing just comes barreling out of the woods. It sounds like Jurassic Park T-Rex. It comes smashing through, and we just start packing up and loading it back in the car, and we're pretty sure the only reason it didn't come out was because we had these tiki torches surrounding our camp.
We actually seen some eyes shine across the creek. We're over there getting our trail cam, you know, packing up, ready to go and whatnot.
It was in an area where people claim to have seen dogmen.
Yeah, and there's actually a person's body found there. It's nicknamed the Bow Hunter, on account of that there was a bow hunter found there dead. You know, his body was partially eaten by animals of some variety. But we seen eye shine up there, and I asked my dad, Dad, you see that eye shine there? And it had kind of an electric blue eye shine to it, which is common with dogman sightings. And he said, where that really dark mass is. And as soon as we said that, there's some kind of a loud grunt, growl. I don't really know how to describe it. And something hit that tree that was right in front of it, and it just started shaking like that. So we start backing across and go across the creek, and then we blew the silent dog whistle like she was describing.
In American folklore, the hodag is a fearsome creature resembling a large bull-horned carnivore with a row of thick curved spines down its back. The hodag was said to be born from the ashes of cremated oxen, as the incarnation of the accumulation of abuse the animals had suffered at the hands of their masters. The history of the hodag is strung tightly to the city of Rhinelander, Wisconsin, where it was claimed to have been discovered in 1893. Witnesses claim the hodag had the head of a frog, the grinning face of a giant elephant, thick short legs set off by huge claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long tail with spears at the end. The reports were instigated by well-known Wisconsin land surveyor, timber cruiser, and prankster Eugene Shepard, who rounded up a group of local people to capture the animal. The group reported that they needed to use dynamite to kill the beast. A photograph of the remains of the charred beast was released to the media. It was the fiercest, strangest, most frightening monster ever to set razor-sharp claws on the earth. It became extinct after its main food source, all-white bulldogs, became scarce in the area.
It's a mythological lumberjack creature that inhabits the Great Pine Forest of Rhinelander, Wisconsin. It's first discovered by a man, Eugene Shepard, in 1893. Moral of the story is he was a lumberjack and he whittled a hodag out of wood, brought it to the county fair in 1896 and displayed it like a freak show. It went viral in the newspapers from New York to California, and people traveled hundreds of miles to see the hodag, and they left believing it was real.
Here at the 2021 CryptidCon in Lexington, Kentucky, thousands of paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, independent researchers, writers, filmmakers, and fans from around the globe attend to meet and discuss their favorite myths and legends.
We have done shows at least probably about 2 a month all summer, and we started in, I think the first one we did was in May.
This is my second cryptid event ever.
We attend about 10 typically.
I've only been going for a little over a year.
5.5 years.
This year we've done 4 shows, I believe, but I've been doing conventions for like the last 15 years of my life. Well, I'm a latex mask maker. I got into doing this probably about 7-8 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, I decided I wanted to get into the cryptids. It's something I'm very interested in. It's something that I believe in. I'm fascinated by the stories. I'm fascinated by the legends. I quit my job, signed up for 14 conventions in 2020 and ended up only doing 2. Almost all of my masks run $185. This one is based out of Algonquin lore. Now, my style of the mask is based on more of the modern showing of how people depict it. In the original legend, it's usually a very emaciated person who is succumbed by the curse of the Wendigo, and it comes on from cannibalism. And once they commit cannibalism, they're drawn to wanting more and more, and they never want to stop eating.
I am the creator for Mystic Novelty Company. We create novelties, tea towels, hot sauces, 3D printed minifigures, squishies, a whole variety. Any sort of novelty item you would want in the cryptid or UFO theme.
We started Hillbilly Horror Stories podcast 5.5 years ago. We've now reached 12.5 million listens, which puts us at 0.01% of all podcasts that are actually in existence. So we are able to make a living doing this. We focus on haunted places, haunted locations. We do some cryptids, we do some alien stuff, some satanic cult stuff, but our goal is just to tell as many stories about as many supposed true life events as we possibly can. Anything weird, not explained, we cover.
I love cryptids. I grew up here in Kentucky, so I grew up listening to stories about Bigfoot. And, close enough to West Virginia that we hear Mothman and all that stuff, so statistically there has to be something out there. I think there's a lot we don't know about.
Although the professional study of cryptids, cryptozoology, is commonly referred to as a pseudoscience, and most dictionaries define the term cryptid as an animal whose existence is unsubstantiated, entities such as the Bigfoot, Bell Witch, Hodag, Yeti, Chupacabra, the Jersey Devil, the Loch Ness Monster, and the Mothman have gained significant mainstream popularity over the years. Although the debate over whether or not these creatures actually exist is unlikely to end anytime soon, the immense popularity and influence of these creatures on pulp culture cannot be argued.